Good morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka, home alone, but of course, I hope that Kade will join me very soon. Well, up bright and early, as always, after what appeared to be a very busy weekend. Some exciting, some not too pleasant, but as always, we're here to help you make sense of it all. Welcome. It's a bumper package that we have for you, as always, right here on the Morning Brief. So let's start off this morning with, of course, news coming through from the weekend, from the presidency, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is off to Rome to attend the Akaba summit. At that summit, the president is expected to discuss counterterrorism strategies and efforts to ensure security on the West African sub-region. And of course, that summit is coming with quite a lot of expectations, as to Nigeria's positioning. Speaking of expectations, of course, prior to this time, that summit had discussed the peace process in the Middle East. And to put this in context, with efforts to ensuring that there is an enduring solution to the Israel-Gaza conflict. Of course, we know that, Israeli forces have taken possession of that space in the last 2 years. And now there's a historic peace process that is being put in place now with Israeli forces, according to reports, withdrawing. And of course, the expectation that some Israeli prisoners, hostages, will be released. That there's been a groundswell of support for a Palestinian state in the last couple of weeks. And so beyond Nigeria, also articulating his position as being in support of the Palestinian state, we hope that all representatives of different countries at this summit will also be forthright, about concerns about those countries supporting or sponsoring terrorism. And we hope that this also leads in an enduring way to an end to anti-Semitism across the country. And if you like, phobia for the Palestinians as well. There's a huge expectation for, a new era of relations in the Middle East, particularly the Israelis and the Arabs. Now, away from the Akaba summit, also over the weekend, news came through from the presidency that the CBN governor, Mr. Yemi Cardoso, will be representing Nigeria at the next round of IMF spring meetings. And of course, this comes as a result of reports that the Minister of Finance, who should really take up that role, has come down with a health challenge. We really hope that the Minister of Finance, recovers pretty soon. But the Minister of State for Finance will also be at the IMF meetings. That's Mrs. Doris Uzoka. So that also came through as some form of concern over the weekend. And Kade joins me now on the program. Kade, it's good to see you again.
It is good to see you.
A long week.
It is.
On the other side of the divide.
Absolutely. Good morning once again. I think this is what happens when someone decides that your car key is part of their toys. And they hide it in a toy box. So you have to do like a proper search to get it. It's Monday, actually. And Monday usually starts with all of that energy, that verve. So let's get right into it. We must tell you that the release of living Israeli hostages from Gaza has begun, and it ties to the point you were making about peace in that region. President Trump making a last-minute visit to basically put a final stamp on the peace process, and he's visiting Israel. Last time an American president visited was under the former president, Joe Biden. What he did basically was to hug some of the families and just try to tell Israel to take it easy. But another president is visiting. This time, there's some more results to show. So we can confirm to you, according to sources, that the release of living hostages from Gaza has begun. According to Red Cross, nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees in Israel will also be freed as part of the first crucial phase of this U.S. brokered peace deal. So we'll wait to see how that plays out. Yes, President Bola Tinubu is attending the meeting. It's quite interesting because Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi had a meeting with the Pope just before President Bola Tinubu arrived Rome. So all eyes definitely on that region. All eyes yet again on Nigeria's Minister of Finance. A lot of wishes for his health. There were rumors around his health yesterday, but sources from within say he's actually in his home in Abuja. And that's different from the reports that have been flying around that he was flown outside the country. I think anybody's health is nothing to toy with or just joke with. It's a very important issue, definitely. And it's good that the presidency released a statement saying he's indisposed and he will be represented, or at least Nigeria's delegation will be led by the CBN governor. So wishing Mr. Wale Edun a very quick recovery. It's not easy to manage Nigeria's governance, talk about the economy, two key areas, economy and security. It's a lot of work, so it's understandable from time to time the human nature prevails and you have to just take some time to rest. So that's what we have about that one.
And, you know, it also speaks to how important it is, you know, for public officials to really take care of themselves, because they really work hard. According to reports, you know, they have to endure long meetings, not just long meetings, drills, you know, before other elected officials. You know that the executive goes through drills, you know, before National Assembly officials. And besides that, they also have to go through long overnight meetings, you know, looking through reports and all of that. And so sometimes when health is not managed properly, you know, they come down with serious health issues. According to reports, this particular health concern that has been reported about the Minister of Finance is a rather serious one. But against all odds, if indeed he has been flown overseas in line with those reports, we hope that he responds to treatment speedily and quickly. Yes, Kadi, there's some other reports that came through over the weekend from, you know, the football pitches in Kano State, I believe. Which state exactly? But we know that Kano is mentioned.
It was Kano. Yeah. It was a football match between Shooting Stars Sports Club of Ibadan, 3SC. If you've been following football, you know they're called 3SC as well, but Shooting Stars Sports Club and Kano Pillars. It was a very terrible sight to see fans get on the pitch, not just that, but also attack at the players of Shooting Stars Sports Club of Ibadan. That is not what we want to see in our football. I mean, it was meant to be a match. Yes, there was last-minute decisions from the referee that didn't go down well. I must say with both teams, there was a call for a penalty, there was a call for an offside, there was a call for a card. So it went back and forth. And then after the match, because it didn't quite end the way of the home side in terms of victory, it was a draw that earned both teams a point. The fans went berserk and they got onto the pitch, assaulted the players of Shooting Stars, and that ended up in some of them being injured, bleeding. The trauma itself, a lot of people have said, you know what, first of all, just ban Kano Pillars from having home games because of this, so they can have it in a neutral ground, just to show the fans that this is not how. I mean, look at this, Bukola. Look at this. You see the players running for their lives.
This is not the first time, you know, that this is happening. And that's why I must ask questions from the league management company that manages, you know, Nigerian football matches, about the management, about the security around the football pitches. This is so unsightly, and it doesn't speak well of Nigeria's football. You know, time and again, we talk about how there is more support, you know, more love and passion, in fact, for the English Premier League. And there's so much potential, you know, for Nigeria as far as football is concerned. We have great talent, you know, and we have fantastic football clubs as well. But when this is the kind of characterization that comes through about the management of our own, you know, football, of our own game, of our own attitude towards the game, then, you know, it begs the question about how we can get to the level of, you know, awareness and publicity and passion that, you know, that is ascribed to the English Premier League. This is not what we want to see about Nigerian football. Kadi, certainly not. I wouldn't want to go to the stadium to watch a game like this, because I'll be concerned about my safety. I hear, according to reports, that there are two footballers of Shooting Stars that were attacked, during this match. Yeah. Just take a look at this, Kayode.
And a lot more traumatized supporters also in harm's way as well. So the league management body must take a decisive decision about this to ensure that this doesn't happen again, because it's happened too many times. But there you have it. While we wait on the outcome of, I don't want to call it an investigation, but there will definitely be some sort of investigation and the pronouncement made. Let's show you how the front pages are reporting the big stories today. There is a major issue now that is of national importance, and we'll be having the Minister of Education join us. ASUU has begun its 2-week one-inch strike, and we'll have the Minister of Education join us. But first, we'll take a look at how the dailies are reported the big stories in a moment. Stay with us. Dayo Akintobi this Monday morning. Mr. Akintobi, good morning.
A very good morning to you. Bukola, good to see you. You've been away for a few weeks.
Yes, indeed. Good to see you again.
It was interesting talking to you across the divide.
Indeed, yes.
He said a few weeks, even though you were away for a few days, but it felt like weeks.
It felt like weeks.
Right?
Massive vacuum in our absence.
To a lot of people.
All right.
Mr. Akintobi.
It's good to be back.
It is great to have you back. But you return, Bukola, to ASUU beginning a 2-week warning strike. And we'll start off with the front page of New Telegraph. As I said, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, will be joining us in moments just to speak to the government side. But let's just run quickly through the front pages, Mr. Akintobi. ASUU begins 2-week warning strike, says members' intellectual capital being drained. As FG threatens no work, no pay, says it met all of union's concerns, warns against academic calendar disruption. So New Telegraph is leading with that all-important story. There's another, explainer that says public varsities lost 309 professors in 9 months. That's according to the union. And you see why ASUU suspended planned strike. Let me also add that CONWA said they're not a part of this strike. Anyway, Mr. Akintobi, we're back here again.
Yes, we are. And, well, at least let's be a bit grateful that it's a warning strike to start with, as opposed to a total shutdown, which usually is the way it plays out. The grievances are long drawn out. Apparently, there's a 2009 agreement that was signed between the government and ASUU that ASUU claims has not been implemented. But when you listen to the government side, they say they've met all their demands. So where is the truth? It lies somewhere in the middle. Apparently, ASUU is obviously not pleased with some of the things. I remember the last strike it had a few years ago. And let's give this government some kudos. We haven't had a strike. At least the strikes are not as incessant as they used to be once upon a time. We haven't had a strike in quite a number of years. And I think ASUU has been relatively patient, because if you remember the last strike, part of the issues were that the strike before that, they never got settled in terms of the work they did, the pay they didn't get. And then there's all the historical issues of their emoluments, promotions, gratuities, pensions. It's been a continuous tug of war between the two parties. And at the end of the day, it's always the Nigerian student that suffers. I mean, for us to have this kind of shameful mantra that when you will enter university, you can never predict when you will leave. That is really shameful in 2025. And it shouldn't ever have to get to the point where we have a strike, because at the end of the day, they're still going to sit down and resolve this issue at the negotiating table. So why don't we do it before the issues get to the fore, to a point where we don't have to down tools, shut the whole system down? So I listened to both sides, and I'm glad the Minister of Education is coming on after we do this review, so that he can explain the government's position, because I think it's important that the public should understand what the grievances are, because we just know we're on the receiving end. Yeah. And we don't know at whose feet to lay the blame, because there's a he said, she said issue to where I don't even know who's telling the truth anymore. The government is saying we've met all their demands. And so government is bringing out the big stick now and saying, if you go on this strike, for the period you're on strike, we will not pay you. Which, of course, is part of the problem, is to do with their pay. So if all of a sudden now they're not getting pay on top of the issues relating to their pay, then it worsens the situation. And Kayode, you alluded to the brain drain, that 300 and odd professors have left the system in 9 months. And you ask yourself, how does an educational system not collapse when you have that degree of intellectual capability walk out the door? How do we continue to maintain educational standards if we're losing those who are here to impart knowledge? And what is even scarier is that you don't see anybody in the upcoming generation opting for teaching as a profession. The colleges of education are not able to recruit anybody anymore, and you don't see new entrants. There are many going out, you don't see new ones coming in. So wherein lies the hope for our educational sector? And then you compound it with issues of disagreements over pay for even the few that have stayed, that need encouragement, because the slightest little thing is enough to push a person. They just need a little catalyst to light a fire under them to go. And I think we should appreciate those who have stayed despite the hardship. When you look at their colleagues who have sought greener pastures elsewhere, it didn't take much for them to choose to leave. And those who have stayed, it's a sacrifice on their part. And I think we should recognize that and bend over backwards to keep them here. This is a time when we need to encourage them, not discourage them by not paying their emoluments or not increasing their pay or not giving them gratuity. These are little quibbles that we can afford to sort out.
And that's quite instructive. Is the government, looking the way of these ones who have made the sacrifice to stay? Is there disposition towards negotiation, telling that story? Well, I think the answer lies in between the lines somewhere.
Yes.
Let's go to the Vanguard newspaper. And the Vanguard newspaper trails on another subject matter, but just as important. Non-oil exports, local investors lose out of 4.8 trillion naira boom. Let's see if the riders provide some insight. Foreign rivals wielding cheap capital, sidestepping export rules, outmuscle local operators. Stakeholders decry funding crisis, port bottlenecks, analysts demand shift to value addition, NEPC reacts. And, Secretary, this puts a question mark on the progress that the administration is reporting as far as balance of trade is concerned and all the other economic variables that look like a positive. But what are your thoughts on this one?
We discussed this last week when we were talking about mining. I remember very well on this show that there was a report then that said that it was the foreign investors that were taking advantage of our mining sector. They were the ones who are actually being able to bring this thing out of the ground, all our mineral resources, take them away, go and refine them, and we're just getting a pittance. And no localized investment vehicle is taking advantage or capitalizing on the industry. And this just speaks to the general trend in terms of imports. We've made it a mantra now that we want to encourage the non-oil sector. We're too dependent on this one resource that has been more of a curse than a blessing, and we're trying to every government since 1999 has sworn to diversify us away from total dependence on oil. And as a result, we're looking at things like agriculture, we're looking at things like IT, we're looking at the service industry, we're looking at mineral resources. There's so many things that Nigeria has that we can capitalize upon, we can exploit, but it's taking foreigners to come here and do that. It's the same thing with our crude oil. It comes out of the ground, somebody else goes to refine it, and it's when it's a finished product that you can maximize the value. When it is still in its raw state, if you haven't taken it through the process by which it now becomes usable to an end user, then you don't maximize the value in that resource. And of course, the foreigners have recognized that. That's why you see every plane coming to Nigeria, 3/4 of the people on it are foreigners. And you ask yourself, everybody, all the planes going out are full of Nigerians. All the planes coming in are full of expatriates. What do they know that we don't know? There's something here, clearly, that confers economic advantage, because there is a mad rush of foreigners coming to this country. So you ask yourself, what do they see that we are missing to where, our local talent is not capitalizing upon our rich environmental advantages that are second to none anywhere in the world? And when you talked about the idea of finished products, the idea of things like export bottlenecks, creating frustration for local investors, things like loans and interest rates, we have a penchant for making the most simple things convoluted in Nigeria. Things that should be straightforward and easy, we have a way of complicating them. So it would discourage an entrepreneur any which way you look at it. And it takes a foreigner to be able to navigate his way through the labyrinth of regulations.
Right.
And you ask yourself, why does it have to be this way? Why?
Yeah. Big question.
Big one. But we must mention the Abuja Inquirer's front page, which touches on another issue which we'll be looking at on the program this morning. Shock, outrage over presidential pardon. Insensitive to free murderers, drug pushers. AGF to blame, says activists. Mr. Akintobi, this is a conversation that is clearly causing a major uproar, because there's a prerogative of mercy which the president has, and he can wield it in whichever way is recommended to him. But there's also the optics from Nigerians who are looking at the analytics and say, oh, this percentage rather to this crime, this percentage to this crime. Some others are even looking at ethnicities, Mr. Akintobi, and saying this percentage to the north. Okay, so it's amazing, though, but this is a conversation we'll have on the show. Perhaps one line to it, Mr. Akintobi.
Yes, there's a presidential prerogative that gives the president wide latitude to be able to commute, pardon, grant clemency, reduce sentences. But that prerogative has to be deployed with some sense of justice, with some sense of propriety. And that's why there's outrage, because you see the list and so such a large percentage are convicted drug dealers. And you ask yourself, the NDLA, how will they be feeling now after all the efforts they made to interdict drug dealers? I saw somebody there who was convicted for tramadol. I saw somebody for cocaine. I saw somebody for Indian hemp. And I'm trying to put myself in the head of General Buba Marwa right now and thinking that this man has worked so hard in the last several years to bring drug trafficking under control, and he's done a very good job. And then to see his efforts kind of washed down the drain by a presidential prerogative, it's discouraging to those who are in the drug fights. It's discouraging to those who are in the security forces who are trying to stop kidnapping when you see kidnappers let go. I saw the name of a few murderers. I saw, and I asked myself, why was it necessary? I know that as a politician, and it's done in America, it's done everywhere else, when elections are coming, you look at how to position yourself for electoral advantage. But I don't see any advantage in any of these pardons. You can say, well, it was on a humanitarian basis, but how does a family of a murder victim feel to see the person who killed their family member be let go after 9 years or 10 years? On what grounds? On what grounds?
And that exactly is a bone of contention, Mr. Akintobi. But we'll explore this during the course of the program. But it's always great to speak with you, Mr. Dayo Akintobi, on issues that concern the nation. Thank you for your time, and wish you the very best.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, Nigeria's Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, joins us on the program to speak to this all-important ASUU strike. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. And of course, we'll begin, and very rightly so, with the strike called by the Academic Staff Union of Universities just yesterday. ASUU did threaten a warning strike after its ultimatum expired on Sunday. And last week, we had a conversation with the president of ASUU, Professor Chris Piwuna, who did explain, some of the issues, some of the gray areas, and, their reservations about the federal government's approach to handling ASUU's demands. Now let's hear from the federal government, and the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, joins us on the program now virtually. Dr. Alausa, thank you for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you, Bukola. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. And so, in the last 48 hours, we have been hoping that we'll be reporting progress this morning. Unfortunately, this is not so. Give us an understanding of the engagements that had gone on with ASUU in the last 48 hours and why this strike still had to go on.
Yeah, thank you. This strike should not have gone on at all. Let me reassure our students nationwide that the federal government of Nigeria, under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will do everything humanly possible to keep you in school. And let me also reassure our parents, the parents of our students, that we're doing everything humanly possible to keep your children in school. This is the responsibility of this government. And today, I'm going to use this medium to plead with ASUU again to shelve this strike. There's literally no need for this strike. In the last 2 years plus, there has never been ASUU strike. This is not a coincidence, but active, proactive engagement by the government. And we have continued to engage ASUU. Over the last 24 hours, myself and the Vice Chairman of Federal Government Federal Government Tertiary Negotiation Committee were working the phone, talking to ASUU. I can tell you today, literally all the demands of ASUU have been met. So I do not see any reason why ASUU has gone on this strike. We had feelers that despite us negotiating with them in good faith, truthfully, they were determined to go on the strike. Even from Friday, I've been getting text messages that ASUU has decided to go on strike. And when you do that, when you predetermine your action, despite every goodwill or gesture of the government to you, what do you really want? Let me tell you what we've done in the last 2.5 years plus. And where we are today, we've literally addressed every single issue that ASUU is requesting. The areas of their end academic allowance, we've paid 50 billion naira. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu swiftly approved that payment months ago. Why they had end academic areas was that they didn't want this salary, the areas mainstream as part of their salary, which was the best way. But they now came back and we talked to them. The end academic allowance has now been mainstream as part of as their salaries. There will never be arrears again. We've also addressed issues about their postgraduate supervision allowances, which are to be paid by the institutions. And I've been told that these are being paid. There are issues on the needs assessment money, which was not released. If you remember, this needs assessment was negotiated by them almost 20 years ago. But this government met those liabilities. The president approved 150 billion naira of needs assessment money in this 2026 budget. 50 billion naira of that has been released. The president promised us he will release this in tranches of 50 billion over 3 payments. The first one has been released. It's sitting in the needs assessment account now. For us not to disburse that money, it's ASUU that is holding those disbursements. The promotion areas, we told them this will be paid with the 2026 budget. This will be appropriated as part of the 2026 appropriation budget. But what was causing the arrears? We've resolved that. We've had meetings with the budget office, or from this year, 2026, that's when most universities do their promotions. They would be allowed to accrue those last 3 months, October, November, December, with 2026 budget going forward. With the 225-35 wage award, I've had multiple meetings with them and told them that all public servants have not been paid this, but this will be paid in 2026. Those were the low-hanging requests, which we've taken care completely. Now the big ones are about their condition of service and their welfare. We've responded, myself, Labour Minister, and the Honourable Minister of State for Education co-chair a high-level government technical working group, which also included the following members: Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education, Minister of Labour, Minister of Justice, and the Chairman of Salary and Wages Commission, DG Budget Office, Office of the Accountant General, and Executive Secretary. We went line by line on all their requests based on their condition of service. We finalized those review and government counter response to what they had requested. We presented that to them this past Friday. And also the big part, the second component of this, their welfare. We've gotten approval from Mr. President to create another line item called Teachers' Welfare to address the Academic Staff Union, a welfare package, the ASUU, Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, and the College of Education Academic Staff Union. And also, we will cascade that to all teachers in the country as we move along. We got approval to have teachers' allowance. And Mr. President graciously approved robust percentage of their salaries. We modeled that out. We presented all this to them at the meeting on Friday. The Yahya Ahmed federal government negotiating team met with us on Friday. We gave them everything they had requested, their welfare and the condition of service. They promised us that they will get back to us in 24 hours. We waited until Saturday afternoon. They didn't get back to us. Myself and the chairman and the vice chairman of the negotiating committee continued to reach out to ASUU via the president. They didn't call us back. The vice chairman, Senator Joshua, was testing and calling. And on Sunday evening at just before 5 p.m., the ASUU president tested the vice chairman, Senator Joshua, back that I'll call you. He called just after 5. He released a statement that they will go on strike. The senator told him that, listen, we will meet with you on this Sunday. Let us meet. There's no need to go on strike. Your proposals have all been responded to. Give us your counter proposal. We can't continue to just do it back and forth. And the response of our president was, all the people, the leadership that are here, they've been in Abuja for 5 days, they have to go home to their family. 5 days? They can't wait to meet us. Government is doing everything here to meet your needs. Today, we have a president in the presence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that believes so much in education as a bedrock of our society, and is giving us all the support. And we have the highest political will today to resolve these issues once and for all. Remember, these are issues. Give me one more second. Remember, these are issues that dated back to 2009. We've addressed every single request by ASUU. There's no need for this strike. And we're pleading with them to go back to school. We need to keep our children in school. This government is doing, we've met everything. If there's any group of people that have met with the most, since I assumed this position, it is ASUU. I call them, they have my number, and honestly, the government has done its bit. I want to continue what we've done in terms of education funding.
Right.
But if you want me to hold off I'll hold off for a minute and get back to you, Karen.
Definitely. We'll get to that. But I just want to also present their own side of the story. You may have seen that conversation we had with the ASUU president, Professor Piwuna, just last week in the build-up to this. And I want to reiterate some of the things they said so you can also speak to them, so we have a balanced conversation here. So he said they had a meeting in Sokoto and gave 3 weeks but that the government did not do anything all through that period. It was when it elapsed that then we began to hear things from government on the one hand. So for him, he said the government has been too slow. In fact, he said that there was no decency of saying, gentlemen, please hold on with us for that 3-week period, according to him. That's on the one hand. Now, he says that the earned academic allowance that was paid, that they actually had to make a compromise. So it's not like they are the ones who are belligerent in some sense. That it was meant to be 103 billion, but that they said, you know what, we'll give some sort of understanding to government. Let's do the 50 billion. And for him, he said that was a lot of compromise. Even more than half was what they had to give in order to get the 50 billion earned academic allowances. He also talked about the 150 billion of revitalization, which was agreed for 3 tranches. He says 50 billion has been received, but the money has not reached the universities, according to him. So I want you to speak to us as to why there's that slow movement from government. You said they had to wait 5 days. Some people will say 5 days is enough to actually resolve this. So why has there been that sort of slow movement from government in responding to their own side of the yearnings?
Thank you, Calde, for this balanced part of the what he said. With all due respect to the president of ASUU, what he said about the 3 weeks and government not responding, it's not true. Because of my dialogue back and forth with him, they gave us 3 weeks, and I told him about the time they were giving us 2 weeks. I told him, Alhaji Yayale Ahmed, a very renowned Nigerian with deep institutional memory, knowledge of the public service, agreed to chair this negotiation committee. That he had requested that he was going for lesser Hajj. Alhaji Yayale called him. I asked him, I told Yayale to call him that he was going on lesser Hajj. He knew. Alhaji Yayale was in lesser Hajj for 2.5 weeks, and he had some family things to deal with in Egypt. I was communicating with ASUU president. He knew that. I said, let us wait for Alhaji Yayale Ahmed to come back. He's been the one talking to you. He knows all your needs. He's so committed to ASUU. Wait for him to come back. And the ministry responded to ASUU president. I can release that letter today, signed by PAMSEC, sent to ASUU, and the copy was tested to ASUU president via the WhatsApp. That please, Alhaji Yayale, please, these 3 weeks, begin with whatever one you want to do from the 6th of October. Alhaji Yayale said, I will be back on the 5th of October. And by Monday, we met. I inaugurated the expanded committee, the negotiation committee, because what we had on the ground was we had one committee for arts for universities, one committee for polytechnics, and one committee for college of education. And we felt that this doesn't give each committee enough breadth. We wanted one expansive committee to handle all academic unions of all tertiary institutions and the non-academic union. That committee was inaugurated on Monday, the 6th. They moved swiftly on Tuesday to have their inaugural meeting, and they were communicating this to all unions, including ASUU. We now schedule a meeting for Friday to meet with ASUU to give them all the counter proposal to the condition of service and their wage request, which happened on Friday. So and remember, these are issues that have dated on since 2009. We have addressed most of these issues on an ongoing manner. So there was never a time that we were delaying ASUU at all. I told them that this government would negotiate with all truthfulness with you, and that's what we've done. With the end academic allowances, they were the one that said it might have been more than 50 billion. They came back and said, okay, we will settle for 50 billion. We swiftly paid that. We paid that well over 7 months ago with the needs assessment. The president, this was inherited by this president. President budgeted 150 billion in this budget and said, I'll release it in 3 tranches. the first tranche has been released. I met with ASUU that the first tranche has been released, but then there was a little bit nomenclature change. And I'll talk to Nigerian people now on what happened behind the scene on the 50 billion that was released. It is ASUU themselves that have delayed the release of this money to their various bank account. That money has been sitting in the needs assessment account for almost 6 weeks now. In the 2023 appropriation bill, it was 300 billion for that. The line item was 300 billion tertiary institutional needs assessment. Unfortunately, when that was going to transcribe to the 2025 appropriation bill, it said 150 billion federal government ASUU needs assessment. We knew there were some issues here. So I called ASUU president, I called ASUU, Association of University of Polytechnic president, and the Quincy president, and said, this needs assessment has been paid to all tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. Now, we have a nomenclature error on the 2025 appropriation bill. Let's work and see how we can get these funds across. ASUU, Association of University of Polytechnic president, said, ASUU is a big brother, it's okay. We've always had 2-1-1 with your 2-1-1 split. We agreed to 2-1-1 split. The COESU, College of Education at Academic Staff Union, also said they agree with 2-1-1 split. At that meeting, ASUU told us that they can't give us any response, that they will come back to us in a few days. They did not come back to us. I personally called the president of ASUU myself. Please, let us be reasonable here. The next time we got their letter, they said, no, they are the only one that will take the 50 billion, that they will not allow for it to be shared to the Polytechnic and the College of Education. That's where we are on that. That's what is delayed the release of the money. As Minister of Education, I have to be fair to all tertiary institutions. That's my own role. And that's where we are. Now, all the 3 things you've listed, the 3 weeks, we didn't delay, they didn't give us any, we responded to and I can release that letter today. I've promised ASUU and I've promised nations, I've promised our students that this government will deal truthfully with all unions, ASUU inclusive. And that's what we've done. We have a president, in the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that really, when he makes his promises, he fulfills his promises. And that's what he's directed us to do. He's giving us full mandate that our children must be in school. And that's what we're working to make happen. And I'm pleading with ASUU. The government, here we're pleading, let's go back. You have a counter proposal. Please respond to it. There's no need to go on strike. Well, there's no need to go on strike.
Honorable Minister, Dr. Alausa,
yes.
Professor Piwuna did commend the Ministry of Education under your watch for its difference in approach to negotiations, for operating an amiable and open door policy, unlike the experience that ASUU had with other ministry superintendents in the past. But what now seems to be a gray area is those items that ASUU is demanding and when it will be paid and all of that. Thank you for the clarification that you have brought. But one of the things that he also said was how difficult, according to your own report to them, about getting funds released, perhaps from the Ministry of Finance, that if it is that difficult to get funds released to a sector as critical as education, then the federal government's commitment to education is in doubt. That's what he told us. That's on the one hand. Please explain that to us, sir, because there is a significant increase in the budgetary allocation to education in the 2025 budget. How much of the delay in the implementation of the 2025 budget is affecting this negotiation with ASUU? I'd like you to clarify that for us.
Thank you, Bukola. This President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, prioritizes education. Everything we've asked him is done. So I don't know what Professor Piwena is saying about delay in releases. I can tell you today, in 2025, we have 683 billion naira budgeted as direct intervention to universities, which we decided that they will be spent on 5 things: to rehabilitate student hostels, rehabilitate lecture theaters, lecture auditoriums, laboratories, and engineering workshops, and all faculty offices. The beneficiary universities have started releasing those money. The delay we're seeing in projects being started, it's actually mostly due to the universities. In fact, if you saw that just a few days ago, last Thursday, I met with all heads of institutions to really talk to them about what's causing delay in you accessing all your AIPs using these funds. The government has released this fund. Today, we have 670 billion naira of unused fund sitting in all university tertiary institutions' accounts. Some between 1994 to 2024, sitting there. So government is making its promises to them. Government is making all its promises to them. And we've released 683 billion for this expansive infrastructure upgrade in our tertiary institutions for this 2025 academic session. The beneficiary institutions should move swiftly to access this fund. Also, we're rehabilitating 18 medical schools all across the 6 geopolitical zones with 70 billion in direct intervention to these schools to expand our capacity to admit more students to medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, and nursing. We're also building seven new simulation labs, the first time ever in this country. 40 billion has been appropriated for that. We're energizing our tertiary institutions. There's a 1.1 trillion naira rural integration agency World Bank funding, of which significant amount of money has been dedicated to our energizing education program. We've built over 24 mini-grids all across our tertiary institution. Our plan in the next 2 years is for every single federal tertiary institution to have independent mini-grid. We've also released we've also released another significant amount of money for academic staff training. Over the past few years, over 5,000 foreign PhD sponsorship, about 322 local PhD sponsorships, about 4,000 foreign master sponsorships, about 157 foreign master scholarships as well. And we've trained over 28,000 teachers, people who are lecturing in teaching practices. When it now comes to NET Fund, we have over 580,000 students that have benefited from NET Fund. 107 billion disbursed in total, 46 billion naira disbursed for student upkeep, and 61 billion for institution. This is additional money going to our tertiary institution.
Well, Dr. Lauza,
61 billion to support them.
While it's good to paint the bigger picture of what the government is doing in terms of education, there is a present challenge that needs to be fixed, an emergency situation, if you will. And as a doctor, you understand that when there's an emergency bleeding, for example, the goal is to stop that bleeding. Even if the whole body is healthy, you need to stop the bleeding so it doesn't affect the whole body, all the work that you're doing. And I just want to list a few other things that he said last conversation we had. He talked about promotion arrears, third-party deductions, remittance to union for cooperative, 25 to 35% salary increase for 12 months that hasn't been paid, 3.5 months withheld salary of the last action, which they have done the work according to him. And now the government has said no work, no pay. There is a fear or concern that this now makes a bad situation worse. How is the government going to stop this bleeding? Because one day that Nigerian students are out of school is equal to in the future, years of waste, because you don't know what this can do rather to the future of these students who are, by the way, competing with a global village that are way ahead in terms of technology, innovation, and the rest. So how are you planning to stop this bleeding as of this moment?
One day that any Nigerian child is out of school, it's one day too long. This is not acceptable to us. It's not acceptable to the president. And we will do everything humanly possible to let not that happen. And we have met ASUU. We have met all their requests. Now, you listed some of these things that they've talked about. I'll address those again. But let me go back to where we started from. Every single request that they brought to us, we have met. The outstanding two big things about their welfare and the condition of service, we've given our counter proposal to them. They have it. They have it since Friday. There's no reason to go on strike. Let them come back to us on that. So, government is doing everything to keep our children in school. ASUU, please, let us keep our children in school. It is not on us. It is government. It is not government trying to show any intransigence here. We've met everything single thing you've requested. We have addressed them. Now, with the third party deduction, that conversation have happened. That has been restored. Those have been restored. Why is there an issue again? Remittance to union is been restored. And those are issues at universities level. They are not federal government issues. But we stepped in. We worked with the university. We work with the university. Those have been resolved. Kayode, please, I'm pleading with you as well. Do your own investigative journalism. Go to journalism. Go to this institution and ask them. With the 3.5 months unpaid salary, I'd met with them. When they went on strike for 8 months or so, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was then asking, was then candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu had the chief of staff, who was the Speaker of the House, to meet with ASUU then. That they should call off that 8-month strike. They met and they agreed that they will pay. It was agreed. The chief of staff, the current chief of staff today, led the government delegation. They agreed with ASUU that they will pay 50% of that of the months that they were they didn't work. Immediately, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over. He paid 4.5 months, about 50% of that, and he said he only promised 50%, half of that, and he's paid. We went to the president as well to represent the case. The president said, I promised them half of those months, and I've paid. That the 3.5 months will not be paid. I've had conversation with ASUU and told them that we had met with the president. The president was very clear on his promise that this is what I will do. That this 3.5 months, the president said he will not pay it because he did not promise to pay full months. Unfortunately, today, even I had we did have a paper agreement signed, but if we're talking about gentleman agreement, respectful agreement, truthful agreement, ASUU should own up. The leaders of ASUU that negotiated with the government team then are still alive. They shouldn't turn around now and ask for this 3.5 months. And we've been very clear with them that we will not pay this 3.5 months. It was not part of the agreement. President promised 50%. We've met those obligations. And if they keep and I told them, take this out of your laundry list of requests. I've had meeting multiple times with ASUU that this is the position of government. And it's only applicable to ASUU alone. All trade unions that participated in that several months long strike. President paid 50%, and he said, this is what I promised. And President is a man that fulfills his promises. He's a man of his words. So this 3.5 months is not even part of our negotiation with them. And I've told them that. But the third party deduction, remittance to the union, those are already happening. So please, I need you to go fact check.
All right.
It's happening. So every single thing you've said ASUU part of the story now, I've clearly explained to you how we've met every single thing. So please, we also need your government to help us plead with ASUU to return to the classrooms.
All right, Dr. Lausa.
We need to keep our kids in school.
Dr. Lausa, you've clarified two items out of 4 mentioned by my colleague: third-party deductions, 3.5 months on paid salaries. But how soon, or as the government also sorted out 25 to 35% increase and promotion arrears? And did the government, after our interview with the ASUU president, did the Ministry of Education reach out over the weekend to ASUU to negotiate those two issues?
We reached out. We met federal government tertiary institution negotiation team, met with them for several hours on Friday. Senator Teji Osho, who was deputizing for Alhaji Ali Ahmed, was in constant communication with ASUU president all through Saturday and Sunday. I was also working the phone with Senator Osho, checking with him. He reached out multiple times with calls and tests. He did not get any response back. We are doing everything to avert any strike. We reached out to them multiple times on Saturday and Sunday. No response back. We did not get any response back. Then the ASUU president now tested 5 minutes before 5 p.m., about a few minutes before 5 p.m. on Sunday evening, that it will get back to Senator Teji Osho. By the time he got back to Senator Teji Osho, they released a statement that they were going on strike. And the senator said, "Let me connect the minister with you." He said, no, please don't connect the minister. Please, let us meet and talk. I said, "I will meet you on Sunday." He said, no, our leadership had gone home. So we were reaching out continuously to them. Government, trust me, this government will have a responsible government being led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Human capital is a big deal to us. It's a big deal to us. And let me now address what you said about the 25-35 wage award increase. Unfortunately, there was no provision in 2025 for these to pay these arrears. In the 2025 budget, to pay these arrears for all public servants. And I told ASUU that there was no provision. We met with the budget office. This will be provided in 2026. You will get all your arrears. The promotion arrears are the same thing. You know what was causing the promotion arrears? While we had these promotion arrears accumulated, previous government would not let the university accrue from October. They usually make their promotion October every month, every year. So rather than get them accrue for October, November, December of the previous year in the subsequent year budget, it was stopped. And that's why we had these accumulated arrears. But once this was brought up to us, we met with the DG budget, with the budget office, and said, from this 2025, all promotions done by universities in October or any point in this 2025 will be accrued in 2026 budget. We've communicated that to all vice chancellors to accrue that. So we've solved that fundamental problem. This government is so responsive to whatever problems that our academic and non-academic unions bring up to us. We solved that. And now we said the promotion arrears, because we didn't budget for it in 2025, we will pay all promotion arrears in 2026. Those will be budgeted for. Everybody understands appropriation. If you don't, it's a act of law. It had to be approved by the National Assembly. We're a law-abiding government. We're a law-abiding country. So I explained to them, it will be paid. So please, Kayode and Bukola, you brought all these issues that ASUU said were issues, and I've clearly explained to you how we've addressed every single issue. So please, help us plead. I'm pleading with ASUU again. Please go back to the classroom. Call up this strike. We have a counter proposal to you. Respond back to us. Please. I'm pleading with you, ASUU members. I've had a very good working relationship with you. I've dealt with you with all truthfulness, with all respect.
All right.
And all the things you brought over to me as Minister of Education, we've addressed them swiftly.
All right. On a last...
At this point, I do not know why ASUU is on strike. So students, please help us ask ASUU what they really want.
Well, Honorable Minister, I think they have listed
ASUU what they really want.
I think they have listed their demands.
Please help us ask ASUU what they really want.
Right, Honorable Minister, I think they have listed those issues, and we've presented most of them to you. Just on a final note, we have about a minute. What is the government's counter offer? Give us a peek into what you offered ASUU on Friday, which, by the way, a lot of people think was really late because they gave ample time. So the last working day before their strike was when they now got an offer. So in less than a minute, Minister, what was in that offer?
There's nothing really late. Remember, these were issues from 2019. We told them Alhaji Ali Ahmed, the chairman of the committee, was out of town. He went to Lesser Hajj. What would we do? Should we stop him from going to watching Service God? 2 weeks of what issues that happened that you've been negotiating back and forth 2009. You have it because this president, this government has done everything. ASUU should really meet our magnanimity. Please, I need you to be fair here. What is late here? We told them 2 weeks. Wait for Alhaji Ali Ahmed to back from Lesser Hajj. These were issues from 2019 that were not addressed by previous government, because this government chose to meet all its obligations to the citizens, which will continue to do. They should not abuse a gesture. They should respect us. We're dealing with them with all mutual respect. And to answer your question about the welfare, about the package, the counter proposal, I can assure you it's extremely robust and very comprehensive. I will not disclose that on television at this time. They have it. Check with them, they have it. But I can assure you, the welfare package that we propose to them, extremely robust and very comprehensive. We've done this to keep them in school. We understand that our academic and non-academic staff need better welfare. We will not solve it in one day, but we started very, very well.
All right. Dr. Alausa, we want to thank you for taking out time to provide these explanations to us. And we hope that those outstanding areas that you did mention, promotion, 25 to 35% increase, can be accommodated in a supplementary budget for 2025. Because we recall in 2023, the executive did present a 2.1 trillion naira supplementary budget, out of which 6.9 billion naira was released for the was budgeted for the purchase of vehicles for the State House, Office of the President, and indeed National Assembly members, which drew condemnation from the Nigerian public. But we hope that for a sector as critical as education, for the welfare of our public school teachers, a supplementary budget can be released as well. And we hope that your office can pursue that. We must thank you very much, Dr. Tunji Alausa, for joining us on the program. Dr. Alausa is the Minister of Education. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll address another issue of concern, which is the presidential pardon granted posthumously to some Nigerians and, of course, to other convicts. Stay with us for this one. We'll be right back.
Well, the presidential pardon granted by President Bola Tinubu to over 150 persons alive and late has caused a major controversy across the country. You had names like Herbert Macaulay dating back to 1946, to General Mamman Vatsa, 1986, to Ogoni 9, and of course some more recent issues. And it's really divided people across different lines. People looked at the spread in terms of the kind of crimes. People looked at it in terms of ethnicity and all of that. But one name stuck out for a lot of people, and that's the name of former general, a poet, actually, from Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, member of the Supreme Military Council, General Mamanjia Vatsa, whose family has been speaking about the decision made by President Bola Tinubu and what it means to the family. We're joined by former Commissioner for Information, Culture and Tourism, an APC chieftain, Sir Jonathan Vatsa, joins us virtually on the program this morning. Welcome to the program, sir.
It is my pleasure.
I know this is
having me.
It's good to have you. We saw the statement you released about your hope being restored following President Tinubu's granting of presidential pardon to the late general. But this is deeper because it speaks to a lot of the baggage that Nigeria has carried all these decades. There was a coup plot, he was implicated, and that ended up in his execution. But this decision clearly is a thing of joy to you, but there are those who are seeing this as political, that this is some sort of political score that the president is trying to get in a build-up to 2027, you being also a member of the APC, he needs votes from the north. So speak to us about what this means for you amidst all of the different permutations that you're hearing.
Yeah, Mr. Kayode, thank you very much. We have had a lot of views about this pardon by Mr. President. But permit me to use this medium to, once again, say to Mr. President a very big thank you. We really appreciate him. He has cleaned our tears. He has restored joy back to us as a family. The community back home in the village, they are all happy. Everybody, everywhere is celebration. It's not Tinubu's time. I can assure you, we've been crying out, making complaints, right 1999 during Obasanjo, when the wife was alive, myself, the wife, and the children. We went to the villa, we went with the letter, and the Obasanjo promised us he's going to look into it. That regime came and gone, and the subsequent regime, even the last one before Tinubu, we wrote a letter to late Buhari, telling him there is injustice done. We want him to revisit this case for us. So for somebody who came and have given us this opportunity, have decided to go through the issue, look at the merit of the issue, we remain very grateful to him. You see, in Nigeria, whatever you say or whatever you are doing or whatever position you take, there are people who will tell you well done. There are people who will come against you. There are people who will give meaning. Whatever you do, there are people who will give meaning to it. More so that we are going towards election period. We are going towards election years. But to be honest to you, this is something the family will be yearning for, will be looking for. Because throughout the trial, he had never admitted he committed that crime. He's innocent. And we stand by his view. And up to tomorrow, we stand by that he was innocent. And what encouraged us again, the late Duncan Bale, who came and announced that Mama Vatsa has been executed about an hour, Mama Vatsa and 9 others have been executed about an hour ago, again made the same statement that all evidences against him were very weak. He doesn't know whether he's up to have been killed. All those now, we have put it behind us. They've been giving him pardon. We have accepted the pardon, even though he is innocent. Ahmed Bola Tinubu have answered our need, cleaned our tears, and we remain very grateful to him.
So what does this mean then, the political angle, really? Because that is also being interpreted by a lot of people as a political move. Do you think this maybe makes him more of a sweetheart to northern Nigeria with some of these pronouncements? Because whether you like it or not, this adds up to 2027.
You see, Mr. Kayode, we are going towards electionary year. Whatever you do, whatever you say, there will be meaning to it. It will be interpreted. It will have a political meaning. But, Mr. President, it's not only Mama Vatsa. There are many others. Ogoninai are there. Abat Macaulay is there. You just mentioned their names. And we, as far as we are concerned as a family, whatever anybody say is entitled to his opinion. In a political move like this, whatever you say, you are entitled to your opinion. It's an opinion. We are not taking it away from them. But I am telling you that Mr. President means well for this country. He has healed wounds, and God will bless him. We are not joining issue with anybody. What we've been yearning for years, for 39 years we have gotten. So, in fact, we have allowed people now, we tell people now, please allow that man now to rest. For 39 years he had no rest. Every day is Mama Bata, Mama Bata, Mama Bata. And we thank God, because during the trial he made a statement, I quote, he said he knows that this sentence shall not be his last hour. He has God promise on that. And really, he has God promise on that.
Mr. Bata, good morning, sir. Let's, take a step back, and recall some of the things spoken, to in the former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida's memoirs about, his account of what transpired during the annulment of June 12, and other subsequent events. What's the disposition of, the Vatsa family towards some of the positions held by the former military president in his book?
Buki, General Vatsa and General Babangida are very good friends. General Babangida was General Vatsa's best man at General Vatsa's wedding. Yesterday, let me tell you this, yesterday in the village we concluded in a meeting that we have gotten as a family what we want, that it should be exonerated, and that we have gotten. At this point now, we want to allow the dead man to sleep in peace. Whatever General Babangida will write in his book, let him write. It's his entitlement. He has the right to write books. You understand? As a family, let me tell you, there are two people that exist in Nigeria, the weak and the strong. And anytime the strong bounce on the weak only cried out. All we've been doing is crying, crying, crying. And God have answered our prayers. I don't want to go into details of the books. I don't want to go into details of the book. We've gotten as a family what we want. And this is what we wanted for a very long time. And God has given it to us.
But historical...
Congratulations. God will bless you. God will protect you.
Mr. Vatsa, but historical accounts say that your brother and the late general were childhood friends. So within that context and the exoneration that has come to your brother now, has the family forgiving the late... has your family forgiven the retired General Ibrahim Babangida?
That is what we are discussing as a family level. Let me tell you one thing, Buki. The moment we are going to pronounce we are forgiving him, because if we don't forgive him, we too will be carrying burdens. We don't want to carry any burden anymore. We've gotten what we wanted. Because even if we don't forgive him, Buki, will General Vatsa come back to life? We will forgive him and let him seek forgiveness from God so that we too will be relieved. Anytime you forgive anybody, you too, you are forgiving yourself because you will be relieved. We will forgive General Babangida. In fact, any moment from now, at the family meeting, by the time we come to conclusion, we will make it known to the public. And we will equally pray for General Babangida. They were friends. It's just the word that came between them. When the word came between friends, things will fall apart.
He said in that book yet again that, yes, it was heartbreaking to see that happen, but that the nation's stability and the cohesion of the armed forces were too high on the scale of priorities to be sacrificed for personal consideration. So it'll be good to see what the family decides in terms of whether to forgive or not, seeing that even the president has acted in good faith. But we have to thank you so much for at least sharing some insight into this long-standing issue. Since 1986, we've been speaking with Mr. Jonathan Vatsa, former Commissioner for Information, Culture and Tourism, and an APC chieftain. Thank you for your time in the program.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we're joined by a legal practitioner as we do an analysis of, the names on that list, the crimes committed, the sentencing. Some people are even looking at the ethnicity, but more importantly, what the optics look like for President Bola Tinubu according to the law. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. And as we progress, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria reserves the constitutional right to exercise the prerogative, the powers of the prerogative of mercy. And under that right, the President has granted clemency to 173 Nigerians. And some of them, of course, we've mentioned General Mamman Vatsa, who was executed after a military trial in 1986. But others on that list, seems to have been drawing quite a number of reactions over the weekend. There was Mariam Sanda, who was convicted and sentenced to death by hanging in 2020, for murdering her husband. There's also others on the list. Funke Francis Chibueze, Dr. Nwogu Peters, Mrs. Anastasia Daniel Nwoba. And according to reports, the president showed them clemency based on reports that they had turned over a new leaf. They had acquired a new skill while in incarceration. And this drew quite a number of, concerns and reactions over the weekend. Let's have this conversation now and find out just how wide the latitude of the powers of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is as far as this particular constitutional right is concerned. And joining us on the program is lawyer Mr. Inibehe Effiong, who joins us virtually. Good morning, Mr. Effiong. Thank you for coming on the program. Mr. Effiong, you may have to unmute your device so that we can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Indeed. Welcome to the program. So constitutionally, help us understand what exactly is said about the rights of the president to exercise the prerogative of mercy. Are there any limits to this right?
Thank you. Well, by virtue of Section 175 of the 1999 Constitution, the president has basically an unlimited constitutional power to exercise what is called the prerogative of mercy, which is essentially an act of clemency or pardon, where the president issues a proclamation basically forgiving and also pardoning those who have been convicted or those who are subject to the criminal process, whether in terms of prosecution and so on. So basically, the Constitution does not place any limitation regarding the qualification, regarding the requirements for granting clemency, except that the president is required to act on the recommendation of a body called the Presidential Committee on Prerogative of Mercy, which is headed by the Attorney General of the Federation, in this case, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi. Now, when the president acts on the recommendation of the Presidential Committee and issues clemency or presidential pardon, that pardon is absolute. What it implies in law is that it extinguishes and basically brings to an end the criminal history and the criminal record of the person that is pardoned. The person becomes basically a new person, and there is no longer reference to the criminal liability of the person. Now, the current pardon that the president has issued for about 175 individuals is one that expectedly has triggered very interesting national conversation. I have had cause to examine the list of those who are beneficiaries of this set of presidential pardon. And I find it rather curious that the president, for reasons best known to him, and the Presidential Committee on Prerogative of Mercy has decided to issue pardons to individuals that we do not think merit it. There are some persons on that list whose pardon is understandable, like Mama Vatsa. I personally have a position to this that, look, in the case of Mama Vatsa, for example, General Babangida, who orchestrated the sham trial and conviction of Mama Vatsa, himself was a coup plotter. He also basically staged a coup that overthrew a previous administration. So I do not know what moral authority that Babangida stands to be speaking that, oh, the security of the state was threatened and so on in his book or whatever. So on Mama Vatsa's pardon, that is understandable, that is excusable. And the same can also be said about the Ogoni 9, as you are aware, which was basically a situation in the Niger Delta region where I come from. But beyond that, some of the other names on that list, one is minded to ask what the motive of the president is. When you have a presidential pardon awarded to over 30 convicts, persons who were convicted for involvement in hard drugs, in illicit drugs, being basically issued pardons, the question is what now becomes of the years of work and effort that the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency had put into the arrest and the prosecution of these individuals. What message does that send to other drug traffickers who are going out of their way to basically undermine the security of the country? You also look at some of the other names on the list, like Miriam Sanda. I'm not sure if she merits a pardon or whether this is the right time to issue a pardon to her. Here is a woman who the court confirmed in 2020 gruesomely murdered her husband in 2017. And did so in the most vicious way, stabbed him multiple times, and the gentleman died, and now he's in the grave, his body is decaying, he has been forgotten, and the person who was supposed to be his most trusted ally, the person who was supposed to be the love of his life, took his life prematurely, and now we are being told, oh, that in the interest of the children, in the interest of the family, and because she has allegedly shown remorse, let her forgive and let her have a new lease of life. Let her be released. What becomes of the family of, I think, Alilu, the husband, the deceased husband that she murdered? So these are the questions. And what message, in terms of the optics, does this send? My perception is that this pardon that the president has issued is basically going to embolden criminality in the country. It is like a carnival for criminals in our country. And I find curious that certain names are also missing. Because if the president is now basically so emboldened, so audacious, to issue pardon to people that are involved in hard drugs and kidnappers, hardened kidnappers, then how come that Aneni, the man who basically gave kidnapping the notoriety that they have in the country today, was not pardoned? How come that Evans, the notorious, the billionaire kidnapper in quotes, has not been pardoned? So if the president is now basically becoming the savior of hardened criminals in our country, then he should go the whole way and pardon all those who have also been found guilty of similar offenses. They should open the prison wall, the prison gates. They should open Kirikiri and allow the criminals to go. I do not think that some of these pardons were warranted. And the argument that, oh, they have become new people, they are reformed, they have shown remorse, that is questionable. If you have been to a typical Nigerian custodial center, if you have been to the Nigerian Correctional Service, if you understand how the Nigerian prison system works, there is hardly anything correctional about the Nigerian Correctional Service. And I speak from experience as somebody who has also had, cause to understand how the Nigerian custodial system works. So I do not buy the argument that all these individuals are remorseful, that all individuals have turned a new leaf, that because they have enrolled in the National Open University, therefore we should just simply forgive them. So we need to really question the motive of the president in issuing these pardons. Yes, he has the constitutional authority to do so. Yes, nobody can challenge that constitutional authority to the extent that Section 175 allows him. But the message that is being sent across the country today is that the victims have been relegated and that criminals can have a field day. So I do not agree with some of these pardons that the president has issued.
A couple of issues, really, that you have put together here. Some have said, as a lawyer, some of these processes sometimes may not have been followed through well. Some of these trials, perhaps for lack of representation, due diligence, some of these trials may have gone the other way. So a possibly innocent person may have been sentenced. So that would be a false positive in that sense. And I'm sure you are aware of some of these things. On the one hand, it's also been said that, well, our prisons are no more prisons. They're meant to be correctional centers. So it's good to see that a lot of these people, their behavior is being corrected in that sense. So don't you think this is really an act in good faith? First, it decongests our correctional centers on the one hand. It also encourages other inmates to look at life as, okay, I can get a second shot at life, so let me do better while I'm here. Let me try to pursue education. Let me try to be a better person for the society. So having looked at all of those factors, wouldn't you say it's a way to go? Because I know lawyers who also say, well, temper justice with mercy. So if you ask for that in court, why not support that in real life?
You've asked a question, which is understandable, but the point I am making is that if we are now going to simply issue pardon based on the reasons that this government has given, then every person that is in the Nigerian custodial center should equally be pardoned, right? Because if you are saying, oh, let us decongest the custodial center, I support the congestion because I know that the Nigerian custodial centers are heavily, congested. But the way to go about it is not in the manner that this president has done. And in any event, if you want to decongest the custodial centers, you have to examine the entire criminal justice system as a whole. The president, I do not believe, has any interest in decongesting the Nigerian custodial centers. 2 years, he has spent getting to 3 years in office. We have not seen any reform of the police because it is the police that is responsible for the congestion by arresting people unlawfully, arbitrarily, throwing them into the custodial centers. We haven't seen any serious reform in that regard. We're going to test saying that. So if you want to pardon, seems to be essentially individuals who commit murder, right? Very serious, very heinous people convicted for petty offenses on that list. So is it that these are individuals who have connection, who have access to the Presidential Committee on Prerogative of Mercy? Are we going to now begin to infer that possibly the process of presidential pardon has been commercialized? Yeah, right? And what is the basis? What is the basis for giving these pardons to individuals convicted of very serious offenses? I do not think that the manner the president has done this is proper. I believe there could have been a better way to go about this. And look at even one of the individuals there, Kelvin, who was convicted for kidnapping. What is the guarantee that when individuals return to the society, that their victims are going to be safe? What arrangement has the federal government made to guarantee the safety of witnesses who testified at the trial against these individuals? Have the government put in place a witness protection program to guarantee their safety? How about the families of the victims? How about the families of the victims? Has the government reached out to them? Has the government made efforts to ensure that their concerns are addressed?
All right.
I do not think this was done.
Because, Mr. Effiong, because of the weight of these concerns, and you've alluded to the possibility that, there could be partisan and political pressures on, the Committee on the Prerogative of Mercy, isn't it concerning also that there are no limits to this exercise of the powers of the Prerogative of Mercy? And should it be subjected to some form of constitutional review?
Well, I'm not sure if that will be possible because if you look at what is applicable in most jurisdictions, the president, even in the UK, the crown, if you look at the power of the state to issue pardon, it is hardly contested. It is hardly pardoned. Even in the United States, debuted as the most advanced democracy in the country. Look at the pardon that President Biden handed down shortly before he left office. When Donald Trump came in, the people who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, I believe, he issued pardon to nearly all of them, despite the gravity of the offenses that they committed. So, historically, and across jurisdictions across the globe, the power of the head of state or the president to issue pardon is hardly subject to limitations. And there is a philosophy behind that, which is that the president should have the discretion And it is also expected that the president should act in the public interest. But what I see in this pardon that President Tinubu has handed down, it looks largely political. It looks as if the interest that precipitated these pardons is not that of the nation. I believe that most of these pardons are issued because the individuals who are beneficiaries of these pardons have access to possibly members of the Presidential Committee on Prerogative of Mercy. Right? Look at Mariam Sanda, for example. The mother is known to be a highly influential person. I believe even possibly a member of the ruling party. So is it that the committee just sat down and began to pick names at random and recommended them for pardon? I do not think so. I believe that these pardons have been issued because of influence peddling, because of access to power, and possibly for partisan reasons.
All right.
Yes, there are those the pardon that merits them. Look at the one of Abed Macaulay. This is a bit pejorative. You know, we know Abed Macaulay, the father of nationalism in Nigeria, who was, controversially and politically convicted by the British colonialists, I think in 1913. And in 2025, the president is issuing a pardon. And if you look at Section 175 of the 1999 Constitution, the power of the president to issue pardon is limited to offenses created by an act of the National Assembly.
All right.
Abed Macaulay was not convicted for an offense created by an act of the National Assembly. And under the saving provision under the Constitution, I do not think that colonial laws have been saved, have been made part of our corpus juris as part of our laws in Nigeria. So there's even a constitutional question regarding that of Abed Macaulay, which is yet to be answered, which some of us are still interrogating. Whether indeed this president has the power to issue pardon to Abed Macaulay. Because he's now looking as if Macaulay actually committed a crime. There is a bit of history that shows
Mr. Effiong, we must anchor.
Been an attempt by the colonialists to silence it. So they just choose some of those credible names to basically give credence to this highly controversial pardon that the president has issued. If we are tired of fighting crime as a country,
we must anchor the conversation. At this point, Mr. Effiong, pardon me for butting in, but we must anchor the conversation. Clearly, it's an ongoing conversation, especially one that bothers on social justice for those whose names on that list that is drawing quite a number of reactions from Nigerians. Mr. Inibehe Effiong is a lawyer. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll have just another equally important conversation. It's about your health. It's Cancer Awareness Month. What are you doing to be aware and for regular checks? And what's the result of the efforts of government to combat this scourge? Stay with us for this next one. We'll be right back.
So let's talk about the International Cancer Week. It's a conversation that never leaves us, really. Everyone has had some sort of impact, negative impact, either directly, indirectly, talking either family members or even personally when it comes to cancer. And it's always important to speak about these things, raise awareness before they become an issue, because early detection can be the difference between life and death. We're joined on the program this morning by the Director General of Nigerian Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment. So Usman Aliyu joins us from our Abuja studio. Welcome to the program, Aliyu.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is a big conversation, but it looks like amidst all of the talks around the economy, politics, security, cancer usually flies below the radar, but it's also very important. I want you to speak to just how much attention you're getting, your work is getting, and cancer is getting in Nigeria from Nigerians amidst all of these contending issues.
Okay, so thank you very much for the question. Cancer, as you know, is one of the non-communicable diseases that we have in the world, and the incidence is rising. And it will continue to rise if nothing has been done. For the World Health Organization reports in 2022 reported that we had there about 20 million cancer cases. And more than half of that is there about 10 million deaths were also recorded at that year from cancer. So you can see from that angle what the report had shown in 2022. Back in Nigeria, it was also reported that there are about 129,000 had the disease in that year, with almost about 80% that recorded in that year. So, and previous research from the well-renowned oncologists in the world, Prof. Pekin reported that this incidence of cancer will continue to rise unless and until the world do something. And the country hit the call, that's our country, and established an agency that is purely meant for cancer prevention, research, treatment, and control. The institute is there about 2 years now, but the impact of establishing this agency has been felt virtually all over the country.
Well, Prof, so it's important to also properly situate these things, because I think the reason a lot of people seem to not pay attention to cancer as much is because it's been tough for them to link maybe the cause to the disease itself. I mean, for malaria, they can always say, oh, it's the mosquito, so people know what to avoid, right? For flu, people know what to avoid. But for cancer is all over the place. So speak to us about the Nigerian situation, Prof. What are the leading causes of cancer in Nigeria, according to your research, your findings? Because I think that will help Nigerians now begin to isolate and say, oh, this kind of lifestyle can cause cancer, let me avoid it. This can cause cancer, let me avoid it.
Correct. So I think that is very important. So cancers are like malaria, which is caused by Plasmodium falciparum, that is carried by mosquito, and some other infectious diseases that causes infection. Most of the cancers we have does not have a single etiologic agent, or I can say a single causative agent that we have that are causing a lot of havoc in the country is cervical cancer, which has been linked to human papilloma virus, which is a virus that a woman can contract during her life, maybe early years of her life, and then along the course of her life, the virus now causes some changes, what we call morphological changes, within the womb of the mouth, what we call the cervix of a woman. And from those changes that occurs, it can now subsequently lead to what we call cancers. A lot of things has been linked to contracting that diseases, that no infection, that is human papillomavirus infection. It has been linked with a woman like having multiple sexual partners, early coitus, and so many other things. But generally, most of the cancers that we have, as against saying that we have what a single item that causes them, we said we have some factors that increase the chances of an individual of getting this disease. And these factors, we call them risk factors. And now risk factors that we have that can cause cancer are now has been classified generally worldwide. We have modifiable and non-modifiable factors. But maybe because of time, if we can group them generally, if you look at alcohol ingestion, it has been reported widely to causes the increase of chances of an individual to come off with cancers of various organ or sites in the body. Likewise, smoking cigarette, obesity, that and bodily inactivity, that is lack of exercise. Taking a lot of meats has been implicated into that. Using of preservatives, in food, most of the chemicals that are within the beverages that we have nowadays have been linked to that. Exposure to radiation, maybe by virtue of the nature of work that an individual is doing, maybe from quarry side, all this mining activities, and so on and so forth.
So that's quite scary, but let's look at solutions now. In May, the House of Reps did pass a resolution for the federal government to subsidize cancer treatment and care. I wonder if your agency is part of that advocacy, such that Nigeria makes progress in the reduction of the 127,000 cancer burden in the world.
Yeah, so even before that, there has been a lot of effort being put in place by the agency. Remember that we had series of meetings with the coordinating minister and the state minister for health, with my humble self, on how can we improve the access to the screening facilities and the much needed health education within the environment. Throughout last year, the Institute has been in virtually all the 6 geopolitical zones in the country, where it give like a kind of health education in cancer to strengthen, to improve the knowledge of the populace on what are the common risk factors and how they can prevent themselves from those things. Another very important effort made by the agency is currently we are working to establish screening centers within the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. We are targeting the tertiary institution virtually within the country. Now, it's also may interest you to know that we have what we call cancer access program. And these access programs are suitably fashioned to subsidize the cost of chemotherapeutic agents that we have generally in the country. It is actually a partnership and an MOU that the agency now entered with most of the renowned pharmaceutical companies within the country. And we have more than 22 hospitals or cancer centers that are enrolled into this cancer access and chemotherapy access partnership program. And what we do there is to subsidize the cost of quality and this effective medication to like 50% of their original cost. And then so that cancer patient can actually get the qualitative drug at a cost that they cannot get elsewhere. That is on the shelf if they go. Another very important partnership program that we are into is the Cancer Health Fund. We have what we call the Cancer Health Fund, which is purely meant for indigent cancer patients. It's not for those cancer patients that can afford the services or has relatives that can support their treatment. Cancer Health Fund is purely meant for indigent cancer patients that cannot afford that treatment. Now the government has championed this model of support to cancer patients through piloting in 6 regions. Nearly 6 cancer centers were selected, and we are currently piloting that program. We support their treatment right from surgery, chemotherapy, and even radiation treatment. Of course, we have some limited funds because the Cancer Health Fund was meant for the government to actually have a line or budgeted for some certain amount of money that can be used to support. There is also room for the agency to actually reach out to the philanthropists within the country to see how they can generate to improve or increase the fund that are available in the institute for the Cancer Health Fund in the institute, so that more patients can be treated. That has been running for it has been running for about 4 to 5 years now, and we are pushing hard to see that we have more funding in that, and through the reaching out, through collaboration with the NGOs and reaching out to the philanthropists that will support, so that more cancer patients, more indigent cancer patients can benefit from that. So these are just in the area of access, improving access to cancer treatment. In the area of equipment, it will also interest you to know, I know of recently, about 2 months back, the coordinating minister for health, Prof. Muhammad Ali Pate, has launched 3 additional cancer centers for the country. And this is quite commendable, because the location where these 3 have been placed will definitely improve access to the much needed cancer services that that our cancer patients require. 3 more are coming very soon, and that will amount to additional 6 cancer centers that are going to be launched within the 2 years of His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
But will they be free?
Regime. And
will they be free? Will care be free there? Subsidized or expensive?
Well, okay, it will be subsidized, because the challenges we are having, these are very expensive equipment.
Indeed.
And the cure to cancer worldwide is actually not free anywhere in the world. People have to pay heavily. But here, through the Cancer Health Fund and Chemotherapy Access Partnership Program that I've just mentioned, we intend to drastically reduce the cost.
It's good to hear about the work you're doing. I know that it's a long week for you. Starting from today, you have that big event coming up. But we must talk. We must remind you and other stakeholders about diagnosis issues and how we can ensure that cancer care is also included in insurance, health insurance, for majority of people who have this. But I know that this will form conversations we're having today and in the coming days. So we have to thank you, the Director General of the Nigerian Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, Professor Usman Aliyu. Thank you for your time and wish you the very best.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and that's what we anchor on the show today. It's a big day for you, so we encourage you to go out there and make the most of it and carry the Okikiri.
And more importantly, make the most of the week. We'll be here to make it a delight as always. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.